What's up, everybody? It's the Hardy Construction. You can find us at hardyconstruction.tumblr.com, youtube.com/hardyconstruction, as well as facebook.com/the Hardy Construction with your host, Comp, and...
Flaming Pumpkin Tit.
Today's film is...
Night of the Living Dead, 1990, remake of the original.
No kidding. Night of the Living Dead, 1990, directed by Tom Savini. The unburied dead return to life and seek human victims. Written by John A. Russo, who did an earlier screenplay, and George Romero, who did an earlier screenplay, starring Tony Todd, Patricia
I thought you were
Tallman.
I thought you were gonna be like George Romero.
I don't understand the reference you're making. But anyway, so this film is the remake of the classic zombie film directed by the always great and has never made a bad movie, I was going to say John Romero. George Romero. Maybe there is a John Romero that has made a bad movie, but George Romero certainly hasn't. Ha ha ha. Oofa.
John Romero made Land of the Living Dead.
No, he made a movie called Land of the Living. That's what he did. All right.
Okay.
Because see. Anyway, George Romero. Let's get into a little bit of the past of Night of the Living Dead. Night of the Living Dead is a classic film from what year, Danny?
1968.
It's 1968. 68? Really? I thought it was like from the 50s. Oh no, it would look like shit if it was from the 50s. Anyway, so he made the film, obviously, Night of the Living Dead, and it's seen as the entry point for zombies in film as we know them now. I'm sure there have been zombies that are obviously in films before, like White Zombie and stuff like that. I'm not really a big historian on zombie films. I
know a lot of it was like voodoo sort of zombies and stuff.
Right, which is technically what it should be, actually, because they're the dead raising from the ground and stuff like that, which is essentially what George Romero does in this, but they never specifically state what these zombies, what started them up, although there was some sort of, I don't know if it was official or unofficial, but I think George Romero had said something about, not himself, but from what I heard, that it was like a meteorite had crashed and caused, this sort of weird thing going on with the zombies.
Who said that?
I remember hearing it sometime down the road. I don't know what, and it had to do with the film. Like, it was officially having to do with the film, but George Romero distanced himself from it, so I think he wanted to keep it vague again. But I think for a small time, I think they had edited in the audio of somebody saying, "Oh, it was a meteorite" or some shit like that. I don't know. I never saw I can't say I saw the original film. I saw bits and pieces. Essentially, the parts that I saw from the original film were like the little girl scene. When she comes from the 1968 film, when the little girl, is attacking her parents, and the ending when that fucked up ending where you're like, "Oh, all right, everything's going on." Like it was bizarre as a kid seeing a movie from the 60s. Where the main actor, Dwayne Jones, who played Ben in the original version, survives, and then of course he gets killed by the rednecks in the film, and I was "Oh, Jesus!"
They think he's a human,
right?
I mean, they think he's a zombie.
So they ended up killing him, and I was like, "Damn, that's a fucked up movie." But then I realized, which was at the time pretty bold of the directors to make it a sort of dour ending for a film, because usually they sort of have. For the most part, all those movies in the 50s, if you watch them, I watched this show on Saturdays sometimes that it shows old 50s horror films. I'm not really a big fan of sort of old movies. And every ending, they'll kill the monster, and 30 seconds later, it'll be a guy going, "All right, Jane, let's get out of here." And then you hear the fucking Universal Pictures music going on.
Yeah,
I
don't know a lot of really old horrors. I've seen a few of them, but that's it. Mostly, I go back as far as the 70s for the most part.
Right, I think that's about that's usually you and I. I don't think we'll pretty much watch any movie from the 50s just because we're so.
I know Nosferatu and shit like that. A couple of the classics,
right, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari is a great movie. I don't think Metropolis is a horror film, but it's incredible, that movie. Stuff like that. I think for me, if the art style is really really well done for a movie that's beyond, but Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and Metropolis are from the 20s. You know what I mean? Those are pretty old films, but the art style of it is incredible.
Hey, we're almost back
which
in
is
the
opposed
20s.
to stuff from the 50s on, which is all everything sort of looks like a play. They just shot a play on screen. You know what I mean? There's not really any movement to the shots and any of that. But anyway, we're getting off hand here. But George Romero made this film in 1968, and it was pretty revolutionary to have a black lead character that is a hero in the film, and well, he doesn't
And it's
survive, but
Tony
it also has
fucking
that sort of
Todd.
dour ending. What? Yeah, no, not Tony Todd. I'm talking about the original one. So this remake, directed
Was
by
he black
Tom.
in the original? I actually don't remember.
Yes, he was
It's
black
been
in the original film.
it's actually been quite a while since I've seen the original. I've seen this one
He
way
was an
more.
Asian man. He was an Asian man. He was like, they really were revolutionary because you can't even see Asian people in lead roles in films nowadays. So so the remake was made by Tom Savini. Was it necessary? I don't know, but I got to tell you this: watching it, I was like, this felt like a real zombie film. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
it's fucking awesome.
like like when you think of the archetypal zombie film, like the slow moving zombies that come after you. This is probably the closest and the last one that felt like one. Because even if George Romero made Land of the Dead, and he also made one of the worst movies I've ever seen, Diary of the Dead. Those didn't even feel like zombie movies. Those movies were fucking horrible to me.
Yeah,
I don't know. You liked Land of the Dead, right?
Land of the Dead was horrible.
I could have sworn you liked that movie. I don't know
No.
what the hell it is.
No, I
I'll
said
tell
we
you-
should review it because it's horrible.
All this time I thought that you liked that movie because you brought it up so many times. I wasn't sure.
No, I just couldn't believe how bad it was.
Yeah, it's a bad. Those movies are pretty bad. Like George Romero, unfortunately,
To go
like,
from like Day of the Dead or something to, this. To
yeah,
Land
George.
of the Dead.
Let's go a little bit through. Listen, might as well make since this is a Halloween episode. Let's just get a little bit into it. We'll get into the film in about 5 minutes, but let's talk a little bit about George Romero. I'm sure we will cover some of his movies later on, but as a director, he sort of was known for the Dead films. He did really well with Creepshow. Creepshow's an awesome movie. That's a
Monkey
great
Shines
movie.
is awesome too. Like he's done some cool shit.
Yeah, Monkey Shines is great. That's why I was always
Yeah.
surprised because, let's say he went Night of the Living Dead, and then he did There's Always Vanilla Hungry Wives. I don't know about the Crazies. I just know it was a remake. It was a remake of it. That was recent. Actually, about 5 years ago. He
Right.
did Dawn of the Dead, which is great. I enjoyed that a lot because that had the whole mall thing.
Dawn of the Dead is fucking awesome. Day of the Dead is
Some
awesome.
people actually make arguments that the new Dawn of the Dead is better than the original. I was like, no, I don't think so. The new Dawn of the Dead is good.
It's quite
but
good, but it's not as good. No.
Yeah, the thing about the original Dawn of the Dead is that it felt like pretty epic in scale, and even though they have the graphics in the remake of Dawn of the Dead of that great scene where the van blows up or whatever kind of car.
Yeah, that was cool with the van
Visually,
that they customized.
that's incredible, but you could tell it was all CG and stuff, so it still took me out a little bit.
Also,
but it
the
was still-
zombies ran.
Yeah, they borrowed heavily from 28 Days Later. So there are two sequences of zombie movements. There's obviously the George Romero stumbling zombies that walk around, and then there's also the Danny Boyle running zombie plague kind of thing going on. Even though they want to say, "Oh, it's an infection movie," this is a zombie movie because they're eating people. That's what they're doing. They don't bite them.
I
They just let them go.
like the way Walking Dead does it. They're kind of like in between.
Yeah, they're good, but they lean more towards obviously Romero's stuff because, and apparently
But
the
they
comic book.
they
I
like
thought
walk somewhat fast. I mean,
they said the black and white. Why the reason the comic is black and white was to give a nod to the original Night of the Living Dead, the movie, and I was like, I thought that's because they're fucking cheap. They could be lying, so I don't know, but apparently that's why the comic's in black and white. And that's why apparently the TV show, the first episode, the original director, what is his name, Frank
Darabont.
he made a version of the first episode of Walking Dead, which I recommend anybody, even if you don't watch the show, just watch the first episode because it's basically a 90-minute movie, and they made it a black and white version, which is apparently a really good version to watch. But anyway, with
cool.
George
I
Romero,
actually
he
didn't know
made
that.
the only other George Romero movie that I remember seeing was pretty stupid was Bruiser, which is about a guy who has a pretty neat concept and a good serial killer mask in it, where this guy who's like a real nerd. And like his boss treats him like shit, and people treat him like shit, and his wife like fucks his boss at the party at the house. Is that turning you on?
Ooh la la!
He gets he wears this mask that has like a blank. It's essentially just a mask with 3 holes for 2 eyes and 1 mouth, but it's a pretty unsettling mask. And then one day he wakes up and the mask is attached to his face. He can't take it off. So then he just
That's
starts
like
killing.
Goosebumps. That's like Goosebumps.
Yeah, but he kills people. He kills his wife. His wife gets
Well,
mad.
that's that was the parts that R.L. Stein cut out.
I will say this, just to jump off on Goosebumps. I remember that show had a pretty nihilistic episode once where this kid was like, all his friends were turning into monsters because they wear these masks and they eat this cookie or something that mutates them. And then at the end, the main kid who you think is the good guy, he's with his friends and they're caught by the monster people. And if you eat this cookie, you'll turn into a mutant or some shit. I don't know if it's a cookie, whatever. And they're like, aren't you going to stop him? And he goes, if you can't beat him, you join him. And then he eats the cookie and he turns into a monster. And I was like, Jesus Christ. I guess they really went all for it. So anyway, George Romero's...
I wonder if that was based on a book or just a...
No, I'm sure it was I think it was from the book, yeah. George Romero's movies have gone to shit, and he can't even get financed for more Dead films, as he says. And listen,
that sucks, though.
Hey, if you've seen his movies, would you finance them?
He's George Romero.
I get it. Yes, that's good, but still, I understand why he's not getting money because listen, that Diary of the Dead has to be one of the worst zombie films. If you want to know what I think about Diary of the Dead, I hope we never review it. But if you want to know what I think about it, there's a film reviewer, and I don't give a shit about film reviewers. I don't even give a shit about us because we just talk about movies. A guy named James Rolfe, he did a review on it, and everything that guy says, just look up James Rolfe Diary of the Dead. Diary of the Dead is a movie about found footage, about finding you're finding zombies, right? Mm-hmm. This is you covering the epidemic. This is a woman who's covering an epidemic with her and her friends. Her friends are getting killed left and right. She edits it in a way where she adds scary music to a film of her friends dying. Danny, if you were recording your friends, God forbid, getting killed, would you add? Well, maybe you would. You're weird. You have like a fucked up sense of humor.
No, I know what you're saying. No,
but and that's what James Rolfe said. I was like, that's exactly what I felt because it felt like there was no suspension of disbelief with that movie because it was so fucking stupid. That movie sucked dick. That was bad. Anyway, and then he made a sequel to it. And now he's not doing shit. Survival of the Dead was the last one he did. So that's the movies he does. I just had to get that out of my system about George Romero. So the film, the remake in 1990, directed by Tom Savini. Tom Savini, if you are first of all, if you'd know who he is because he played Sex Machine in Dusk Till Dawn.
No, I know who he is. He does all the special effects.
I'm talking to the people, not you. I know you know who he is. You fucking
okay.
What's wrong with you?
Anyway,
so Tom's for the people, the two fans.
Tom Savini.
Tom Savini is the director of this film. He and just for a note, he wants to get a movie called Nightmare City with basically him directing with Tony Todd in it again. So that would be pretty neat.
Oh, cool.
Anyway, so Night of the Living Dead 1990 is a color remake of the original film, which stars Tony Todd as Ben and Patricia Tallman as Barbara, the Barbara who has the infamous line, "They're coming to get you, Barbara," in the original version.
That's Otis. That's Otis from House of a Thousand Corpses.
No, Otis is playing... Oh, yeah, it is Otis. I'm thinking of Tom Towles, who plays... Tom Towles, who plays the asshole Harry Cooper that you hate so much.
Oh, I hate him.
He was also... He's
the deputy or something, right? He's like
in that film as well. And also, what I know him for mostly, and I will never get him out of my mind for, is he was in this movie called Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. His name was Otis, I believe. That's why I got thrown off when you said Otis. He played Otis in Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, which is... probably one of the most spookiest. It's like a serial killer drama. Like it leans more towards drama, but it's like pretty horrifying for a fucking movie. Like it's really.
Well, it's based all on true shit.
Yeah, but I mean, the guy that's based on, I think he was bullshitting a lot in prison. So. So it's sort of like a mix match shit, but it's really still.
Oh, it was him and his friend went on a killing.
Yeah, Otis Toole and Henry. I forgot the guy's last name. Anyway, so that was a good movie, but that's who I'll always look at this actor for, Tom Towles. He passed away last year, which sucks, but he was he plays an asshole in this.
Okay, seriously, would you say that he's in the top 5 most horrible, like you want to kill him and jump through the screen the whole time?
You know what it is?
I hate him.
You raised my hate level so much that he didn't bother me that much. I understood why.
Really?
He was a piece of shit, and I was annoyed with him. Like
him
taking the
literally
TV.
Every moment that he's on screen, I am getting angry. Like, I feel my blood pressure rising as I'm looking at him.
Him taking the TV set down the stairways and then acting like a child about it really upset me. I was like, he's such a fucking useless shithead.
Yeah,
but
well, that was maybe half Ben's fault though too.
was he playing Italian or something? I couldn't tell. Was he like I couldn't tell if he was
Maybe.
Italian or something. What? Yeah, I think so. Right. Anyway, so there's also McKee Anderson who plays his daughter. She's not. Was that his wife or his daughter? No, that was his wife. I think Helen.
Helen is his wife.
William Butler, who I think was Tom, the little hillbilly young nice guy in it.
Yeah.
I think his girlfriend was Judy Rose, who's played by Kate Finneran, who's a moron. At the beginning of the film, Bill Moseley,
She is kind of stupid in this movie, yeah.
like Bill Moseley, like you said, who plays Johnny, her brother, at the very beginning of the film. I remember that. I remember seeing. Like, I never watched. I was never really interested in the Night of the Living.
Going to get you, Bob.
Yeah, and they made it sexual too. That was the funny part because I was like, they didn't make fun of this in the '60s. Like, I was making jokes like they're gonna come on our face, ho, ho. And then he said they're gonna have sex with you, and I was like, whoa, he really did that joke. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bill Moseley was he was Chop Top as well as you said Otis from the Devil's Rejects and stuff.
House of a Thousand Corpses.
It's so funny because he looks nothing like the Otis character. He's incredible in that role. He's really good. Like he basically looks like Rob Zombie. I bet you that's how Rob Zombie wishes he was in real life, but instead he's just directing movies with his wife. God, that 31 movie fucking sucked dick. Oh, that
I still haven't seen it.
That and you don't have to because I told you don't have to review it because that's how bad it was. Like I felt really like. You know how I said Lords of Salem is like my favorite horror movie of that year, whatever year we saw it, and then to see 31 and see how fucking awful it was incredibly like upsetting, like how stupid that shit was.
It's kind of bizarre, actually. I don't know.
Oh well. Anyway, so what's the setup with this film, Danny?
They're going. Barbara and her brother are going to visit the mom at the cemetery. She died like a few months earlier.
Yeah, they obviously had a
problem. Nowhere.
They had a problem with their mother, I guess, growing up.
Yeah, the mom was like, I don't know, like really just drove the brother out of the house and was mean to the dad, or who the hell knows. But anyway, she died, and they're going to visit her, and it's like in the middle of nowhere.
I remember
That's basically it.
For some reason, when I was growing up, I didn't have any interest in watching any of the zombie films. I don't know why. I was just not interested in seeing, like, when I saw Return of the Living Dead, I thought that movie was awesome, and I thought that...
Yeah, I love that movie.
I essentially thought Night of the Living Dead, the 60s version, was essentially just like a kind of watered-down version of this movie, a watered-down version of Return of the Living Dead, although I think the writer of Return of the Living Dead is the one...
Dan O'Bannon.
Oh no, I'm thinking of somebody else. I think he was a producer then. Who the hell produced... Somebody from Night of the Living Dead produced Return of the Living Dead, which is why there was some sort of trouble between George Romero and the guy.
Well, it was the name of it that was the trouble.
Let me see something. John A. Russo. I think John A. Russo has something to do with it. Yeah, John A. Russo is the guy who wrote or had something to do with the original Night of the Living Dead. Okay, yeah. He wrote the screenplay with George Romero back then. And
okay.
He ended up, what did he write? He wrote Return of the Living Dead. He made the story for it. So that's why it's sort of, it's like sort of quasi in the same universe, but they're not. But I like the zombies more from Return of the Living Dead because they talk and they're intelligent, and they're...
I actually prefer the Romero, but
okay.
I mean, Return of the Living Dead is like funny and fun. But
right.
I actually like the world of like Walking Dead and Romero and all that kind of shit.
Okay. So I think what it is that there's always that divide. Anyway, so John Russo did that, and he got in trouble for. Well, he got into a falling out with George Romero for a while, all that shit. Anyway, so with this film, Tom Savini, who's known as a special effects guy, he's essentially worked on every big budget '80s when they used actual special effects, like actual effects in films instead of using CG and stuff.
Yeah, he did Dawn of the Dead. I know that for a fact.
He did Dead in the Night. Martin, not Martin from Martin Lawrence. Right? Okay, that would have been an awesome show if he had special effects. Dawn of the Dead. Yeah, he was in Dawn of the Dead too. I think he played one of the motorcyclists. Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter, Creepshow 2, Tales from the Dark Side. He's done a lot of special effects stuff. All these movies look like shit, though. I know he's been in better movies than this crap.
No, he's awesome.
Anyway, so He directs this version of the film. Was there necessarily for a remake? I don't know. I like this movie though.
I mean, it was cool to see it in color, if nothing else. But
like I was saying, the thing that I had
It's been a
remember
long time since I've seen the original. Though.
right why I hadn't watched this film because I wasn't interested because I thought it was a watered down version of Return of the Living Dead. And I remember one scene where Johnny, the brother's fighting off that zombie, and then the zombie like collapses on him and he breaks his neck on the tombstone. And I thought that to me that was probably the worst death I had ever seen in a zombie film, just because it was, because what happened is it's such a natural way to die, and such a an avoidable way to die, and that it was graphic in its non-graphicness. You know what I mean? Because when somebody just like breaks their neck and you just look at it, it's like really effective. I would say obviously another one worse than that is the one.
It's realistic, like
right. That's why it kind of threw me off because when you see them ripping people apart, like the death in Day of the Dead, you know when that guy gets torn apart. The equivalent is in Shaun of the Dead when the guy is next to the window and they tear him apart, they pull his organs out.
Right.
That's essentially the same death that was paying homage to the one in Day of the Dead. Like that's probably the second worst graphic death in these type of films. I'm sure there's other worse ones. I'm sure anything in Dead Alive is probably horribly more graphic than this.
Oh, Dead Alive is 100 times more violence.
Yeah, so, but to me, that death always stood out to me because I thought it was like, Jesus Christ, because you think about falling and busting your head open and shit like that, and like just like how easily life can get snuffed out like that with that type of death. But anyway, she is with her brother at the cemetery, and they get accosted by this crazy guy who's like, I didn't know if he was like a dead guy that just woke up or what happened.
He's just a guy who was running. He's just some guy.
Yeah, he was just like apologizing. He was just apologizing and running out of the way. And then a zombie comes and attacks him. That's how Johnny gets killed. Patricia Tallman. I did like Patricia Tallman's character Barbara, like her arc for the film. Yeah, because she essentially is like a chicken shit in the first 5 minutes of the film and then turns into Ripley within the last So, but it's like a cool like female, like an arc for a character because she's the one that like, you know, I think in the original,
she's the only one that's sensible in the whole movie.
Right, and she becomes psychopath by the end of it, which was great. Because in the original one, I think Barbara was just chicken shit, and she's just scared, and she actually gets killed in the original version, and she survives.
Yeah, she gets killed like at the end, and they actually reverse it. Kind of what happens a little bit.
Yeah, because in this version, she actually grows balls and, you know, accepts how reality is and adapts to it.
Her ovaries dropped.
Yeah, her ovaries were filled with gunpowder because she was killing the shit out of everybody. She makes it to this, and it's pretty. I think it's pretty effective. The sequence where she's stuck in the car and she's trying to get out and she puts it on. She pulls the emergency brake off and stuff like that. It's done, and it's pretty. You know, I knew she was going to get to the house, but I thought it was pretty well done.
I love how the movie just like immediately starts. Like,
moment
it's immediate. They're in a graveyard, and like right away, like within the first 2 minutes, there's this guy running at them, and then there's a zombie like right behind.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't stop, and we eventually she gets to this house, and there's some zombies in there. We eventually see Tony Todd. If you know who he is, he was more famously on an episode. He was in. Oh no, I don't know about that. I know he was in an episode of Xena. Now that's where he's from. So he was he is obviously from the Cabrini Green streets, Mr. Candyman himself. A great he's a very awesome Shakespearean actor. He comes off that way too in this film. He's a good actor, but you can tell you can see that he's acting. You know what I mean? But he's good acting. He's sort of like
I think he's amazing.
I think he's great. No, but I'm still saying it's sort of like, you know how Patrick Stewart, you know how like when you watch him and you're like, this guy's a good actor, but you know he's acting, but he's still good that you don't care. It's sort of that thing. Like if you look at any old British actor, they could just go into any movie and be in anything, and they're great. You know what I mean? You don't give a flying fuck. They're like, wow, they're good. So Tony Todd to me, sort of, I assume, is Tony Todd? He's an American or?
I actually don't know.
I don't know because he has a great voice. He has a great like stage presence, but he is playing. Who is he playing in this film?
He's playing Ben. He's American. I just looked it up.
Okay, so he's playing Ben. Explain Ben's character.
Yeah, and he is. I don't know. I guess he's kind of like a badass traveling businessman or something, but somehow he's out there too, and he's kind of like the boss. He's trying to be the boss and take charge, but he's kind of got like a big ego and everything. But he's a nice guy.
Yeah, he's trying to find a way to get out. He's trying to get these cars.
Really, he's just as stupid as Cooper. He's just nice, so you don't mind as much.
Yeah,
Really.
where they are at this farmhouse is about 5 miles away from, I guess, where everybody else is. So they're trying to figure out a way to stay the night or get their car over there or something like that. It's an interesting dynamic between him and her because she sort of starts off as this kind of shell-shocked person, and he still has all his facilities working. He understands there's a problem. He doesn't know what it is because there's a great little monologue about how he saw these guys tearing people apart in the street and stuff like that. It's really well done. I mean, it's all the best parts of a zombie film that you would want in this type of film. Like all the zombie films, everybody is always stuck inside the house, and you know what happens. The zombies always break into the end.
This is like still before it was like so
cliche,
like, overdone.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because essentially,
the original,
it's a remake of the original,
but
right?
Even in 1990, it wasn't so overdone as it is now.
Yeah. So what's interesting about it is that it's essentially it hits every trope of of a zombie film, but it doesn't feel like shit. You know what I mean? Like how when you know it's gonna happen. Like this asshole that's downstairs in the basement is gonna fuck things up for him, but you expect it to happen, but it doesn't bug me as much. I'm like, yeah, I know he's gonna do that.
Oh, I just hate him so much.
Let's get into that character. How are we introduced to Harry Cooper and Tom?
They were in the cellar, or in the basement, I should say, the whole time. Is it called the cellar? Whatever. They're in the basement the whole time as Barbara and Ben are, like, fighting zombies and shit, but they don't come up, and then he does come up, and apparently he heard them calling out and stuff, and just, like, he's just this cowardly... I hate him. He's, like, this coward asshole, like, misogynist dickhead. Oh, he's the worst.
He slaps his wife around. They have a daughter that I swear to God is played by a 40-year-old woman. I don't know why they couldn't pick a person that actually was like a child actor for some reason.
Because they're like tall.
No, she looked like a 20-year-old woman. I'm like, how old is this kid? Because she's dressed up like a baby doll, like a kid, and she clearly looks like 20 years old. She was born in
1976, so in 1990 she was 14.
Get the fuck out of here! That girl was 14 years old. She looked like an adult. Uh-oh.
She was dead.
No wonder Jared was in trouble. I gotta watch out. So,
alright.
So he's on there with his daughter. He's like obsessed with, his daughter, which I guess is a commendable thing, right? He wants to keep his daughter safe with his wife. I mean, that's a good thing, right?
He wants to keep himself safe because when the wife goes outside to help them, he stays behind the door like, Helen, get back here, Helen. I hate him.
Counterpoint.
I hate him.
Counterpoint. They want him to kill his daughter, but he doesn't. Aha! He's a good person.
So he likes his daughter. Okay, that's the one redeeming quality. And then that's it. That's not even good in this situation because she's a fucking zombie.
So Tom is this hillbilly guy who's a nice guy, sort of a salt of the earth kind of gentleman who had to, I believe it was his uncle and his brother, or was it a cousin? I don't know.
His cousin.
His uncle and his cousin are killed. I guess his cousin is that big fat bald guy, right? Great creature effects on that guy.
Yeah, I like that.
Or was his cousin the one who blew his brains out upstairs?
Too. Yeah, right.
Okay, very good. I asked you if he was... Somebody...
No, you asked me if it was his cousin or his uncle. I don't know which one.
Up on the stairwell?
Yeah,
oh, okay. Somebody shot...
They do say it, actually, but I forgot.
Right, one of his relatives blows his brains out upstairs while the other one is a big fat guy that's dead. I assume the fat guy was his cousin. Anyway, maybe. So he seems like a nice guy. He has an annoying wraith of a girlfriend who yells and is screaming and seems unnecessary. She's like
Tommy!
She's like a hollering banshee. She's very annoying, and I was hoping the building would fall on her fucking head in the movie.
Well, she does die, so it's okay.
Although we do find out Tom is much more stupider than she is because the motherfucker shoots at a gas pump. Oh boy, was I looking at him going, "What a fucking moron!"
And you would think that he, being like a guy who lives on a property that has a gas pump, would know not to do that.
Although he didn't live there though. He didn't live there though, from what I remember.
But he's like from.
Okay,
he's
well,
not
yeah,
like
he had
a
an accent.
City boy. He lives in the country. He should be used to this,
Yeah, so him shooting at a gas pump, it beggared belief. I couldn't believe that a guy was doing that. Like, it was so stupid. But it was a pretty cool effect because you see the car explode.
They're all panicked,
Yeah, the car to see the whole thing explode with his dumb girlfriend inside was pretty interesting. I wonder what the original. I think I guess that does happen in the original one as well, or something like that. Because I do remember they did show
honestly,
this.
I don't really remember.
They did show the original '60s film in my school for some reason. I don't know if it must have been around October they were showing this movie because it's probably the most sanitized version of a horror film they could show us at a Catholic school. And there was that scene where everybody was looking out and the zombies were eating people and the characters were reacting, which is a scene that happens in this film. Anyway, so Tom is an interesting character, but who gives a shit? He's essentially the cardboard cutout white guy that's in the film, and he dies. He's essentially the same guy from Evil Dead. You know that asshole guy that was his
Which one?
Ash's friend. I don't know if he was Ash's friend, but he ends up becoming a real prick to Ash, and he like fights him all the time in the movie.
Tom's not a prick.
No, I'm just saying he's like the generic white guy to get killed, like in a weird way in the movie. So Barbara's there. She essentially says fuck it. You know, she gets a shot. Is it a shotgun or some sort of it's some sort of 12 gauge shotgun?
Yeah, if they had just listened to her, they would all be alive.
Yeah, because it's believable some of the conflicts, especially because Harry. Like I understand the conflicts that happen in the film. It doesn't seem like there's unnecessary conflicts in the film. You know what I mean? Like It doesn't seem like Harry doesn't seem like, hey, let's open the windows to get some fresh air. It's nothing stupid like that happens in the movie where they'll let zombies in. It's like shit that you would actually believe happening in the movie. Or in this sort of situation where these people are just fighting each other.
It's basically all their fault. And also, if they had all just shut up and not made any noise, because it shows at one scene when they're all hammering and you see the zombie look.
Yeah, actually hear it. That was the lady who owned the house too. She said... I think she let them film in that house just so she could have that one scene in the movie, which is pretty funny. Yeah,
That's
she owned the house.
awesome.
That was the woman that stops and listens to the house getting
That's
hammered.
amazing, actually.
Which is pretty I don't know if that's in the original one, so I'm gonna try to give the credit to where credit's due with this film, where small things like that, and even the ending. You know the part where they're putting the little pit with the zombies fighting the guy. Like we end up seeing that in Shaun of the Dead, which is funny because the whole point of the movie, I think, is it's clear when she outwardly says to no one, she says something to the effect of like they're us and we're them, as to the zombies as sort of like unthinking creatures, and all these, and they show, of course, I guess to them at the time the worst sort of people in this area were like the redneck sort of non-thinking blue collar types, I guess, which is not right because blue collars are thinking obviously because they're working and they own businesses. But it's most likely the sort of
supposed to be a bunch of like
asshole. Yeah, these are supposed to be like the
guys,
more reactionary type of people that just are doing shit because they wanted to. So yeah, it shows you like the humans are just as monstrous as the zombies. Although you're gonna show kindness to people that want to eat you? I have no idea. It's just...
No, but they're like having fun with it,
right? I guess you got lemonade. You make it out of lemons. Is that how they say?
No, you don't. No.
Danny, what would you do if there's a zombie apocalypse? You wouldn't have fun and dance around with the zombies and shit?
No, I would, but the whole movie's plot is basically these idiots are arguing in a house and making all this noise, so now they're going to get attacked by zombies.
I will say this.
Left and walked past.
I will say this: there's a lot of hammering going on in this movie. Like if they cut out 10 minutes of this hammering, the movie would be 70 minutes long. Because I think Tom
there
Savini...
is that's like a constant noise throughout the whole movie. Hammering.
Which is fine, but I mean, like, if you know that's going on, you can see that. But they literally show characters unhinging doors, going to a wall and hammering it against a wall. Like, it happens like 10 times in the movie, and you're like, okay, I get it, they're hammering. Can they do something else? Like, have them, like,
It is a little too much hammering.
It's repetitive, right. So Harry and his wife, their altercation, obviously, like, she wants to find help for their sick daughter, who is slowly turning into a zombie downstairs.
But they don't know that because they don't have zombies in that universe or whatever.
Right, they don't say the word zombie like they usually do in... they don't say that usually in horror films. They never say zombies because they want to keep it...
I heard the premise once that, like, zombie films don't have zombies.
Right.
Like, maybe in, like, a movie that's, like, self-aware, like Shaun of the Dead, they might say it, but not in, like... not in this, because this is supposed to be like the real world, and now all of a sudden dead people are coming back to life.
So I think, what were, like, are there bad things about this film that you think they could have changed?
Just the repetitive hammering. Honestly, that's about it.
Is that it? I hit it on the head.
Yeah, that you hit it right on the head with a hammer. That you did it.
But I think, oh, that's clever. I think originally, like, Lawrence Fishburne tried out. Could you imagine? He would have been.
Oh, is Ben?
Yeah. He's good acting.
He's like, what would you do if I told you that you could walk right past these zombies?
He's offering pills to the zombies and shit. He took the green pill. He took the red pill.
Or no,
pill.
this isn't his Pee Wee Herman stage. So he's like wearing
with his
a
curly
cowboy
Jerry
hat.
curl and his. Well, hey there, Pee Wee! And he starts running around. Yes, he was. I still can't believe he was in that show.
He was Larry at that time.
As for me, it was probably it's true. He's like, don't call me Larry anymore. He'll fuck you up. I will say that's probably the worst. To me, that's probably the worst part of the hammering of the nails. But I think, do you think it got its point across that humans were just as bad as the zombies? But I think that's only near the end of the film. It's not anything too,
Well, I mean, the whole fucking movie is two egomaniacs arguing with each other and making lots of noise, so attracting more zombies to them.
Yeah, but it still feels like a proper zombie film, like a pre 2000 zombie film, which I think works for it. This is there's like a main jump in zombie films, like we said before. It's this film and then 28 Days Later, which are the ones that are pretty much the two big. Not this film, but the original version of this film, but this carries the same sort of feeling of the original film. This
is a proper remake. I gotta rewatch the original. I didn't even remember that the guy was black, and I barely remember Barbara.
That's
dying.
a good thing, Danny, because that means you don't see in color. You're a person who loves human beings.
But back then that's like iconic. I mean, that's like so early for that to happen. That's awesome.
But I enjoyed the film. I thought it was pretty good. It's your standard sort of zombie film, but it's a remake of the original one, so you're gonna grade it against that. I think Savini did a good job. There was some parts where I was like, what the fuck? Like the ending of the film. Well, okay, so let's get into the ending of the film.
I love the ending.
When Barbara shoots the shit out of Harry. What'd you think of that? I liked it, but I was like,
probably cheered the first time I heard it.
I liked it, but I thought it was pretty like ballsy for her to just kill this guy who was he was trying to kill them too anyway. But I would
horrible.
think, he was. I would think that in modern days they would let that guy live for some weird reason because the way she shot him,
Like I would have killed him. I know for a fact that if I was in that situation, I would have killed him.
She kills him and she survives, but she's in the middle of fucking hillbilly town, so maybe it would have been better as a zombie. And Ben gets into a shootout earlier with Harry, or was it Henry or Harry? I remember with Harry. He expires from his injuries. I guess he gets blood loss and
then comes
dies.
back. So it is the same as the Walking Dead. Well, I should say Walking Dead took that from this, where they don't know why something in the air. When you die, you become a zombie.
Yeah. I guess you're right. Yeah, I didn't think about it that way. Yeah.
Because he didn't get bit. He got shot.
Oh yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's interesting. I guess you just come back as a zombie. Well, I guess it would make sense because the dead people were coming out of the fucking graves as zombies, so...
Yeah, but they were... Yeah, sure. But, I mean...
I guess it's always been like that.
Something in the soil.
Danny's trying to say George Romero is a dumb fuck and that Robert Kirkman's smarter.
I did not say that.
I'm just kidding. So anyway, so he comes back as a zombie. Obviously, this is a change from the original ending where Ben is just blown away for surviving, which they said also had racial connotations back then, saying that white people couldn't even let the black guy get to be the hero of his own film.
Yeah.
Although I don't know he was a hero because everybody else died, so that's technically I guess he wasn't a hero. He was more like just a surviving guy.
But the people that shot him could have been doing it to be racist.
That's true. And then they it was funny when Barbara shoots that guy Harry. Do you think those guys know that she killed a human and they just didn't give a fuck? They just we're not gonna fucking around with this. Fuck it, whatever. Because I sort of felt that feeling.
I think they kind of seem like they might know, maybe, but either way, how are they gonna prove it? Yeah,
it's true. It's sort of like that thing that's happening in the Philippines now, where they're having I don't even want to get into it. Never mind. I'm not gonna get into that. And also it does borrow that sort of very in the original '60s version. I remember seeing the ending credits. That's all I remember from when I saw it in school was the ending credits, and them killing Ben in the original
Also,
one.
I love the music in this because it's just like so
I thought-
like in the background.
I thought the music over the ending credits was one of the worst things I've ever heard because it was
Actually,
like
it's funny. I laughed at that because I was picturing you like doing that as a joke, that kind of music. But I'm talking as like the score of the movie, like,
right. No, I know the score was fine. I'm saying the part where like because the ending of the original film is obviously like newspaper shots of the people gathering up the zombies and being as inhuman as the zombies are, and they
Right.
carry it over to this one. And I like the way the images look, but the music that they play is this weird sort of synth dance
It's like
music.
Mega Man.
Yeah,
Man or something.
and it's so bad. I was like, "What the hell is this music?" Like, it's not creepy bad. It's just like weird bad, and it's just playing. And that's the second thing that I think is pretty bad. Is like the nails hammering. It's like nitpicking, but those are the two things where I was like watching. I was laughing out loud when I saw it because it was so stupid. Like, it just made no sense. It was like, buck, 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 buck,
You know what would be
buck,
a
buck.
funny
What the hell is this?
a funny idea would be somebody to make a fan edit of this movie where it's only hammering.
It's just-
They cut out like every conversation. It's just hammering, and people.
and even
running
when
and taking things
even
over
when the
hinges.
characters talk, you just hear hammering over their faces.
Right.
Man, those end credits because they show like a close up of Barbara's eyes, and then it does a zoom in for no. Oh man, you got to see those end credits. It's so fucking stupid. But the images are dope, but it just is bizarre. Was there a favorite zombie of yours?
Definitely the naked one that like.
There's
comes
two of them,
in.
right? There's a woman that's naked, and there's a guy who's wearing
This is like
funeral
a
clothes with his
skinny
buttocks hanging out.
guy. This is like
Okay,
or is
so
that
that's
a
another
woman? Or there's a guy that comes in and he's like all skinny and like opens his arms out and like kind of hisses.
Oh, there's that guy. Yeah, there's a naked woman too. Her butt is like exposed, and then there's a guy at the cemetery with his
with
buttocks
the pants
exposed.
falling off of him. Yeah, I like that
No,
guy. too.
I think he was born with the clothes on top. I mean, born. I think he was buried with the clothes on top of him, like some sort of weird Halloween costume where his ass was exposed.
Well, I
unless
think
that was his
they
fetish.
I think maybe that might be what they do to open caskets. Who knows?
Yeah, you think they're that lazy that they can't? Well, maybe I guess it would be hard
Well,
if the
they might
body's
sew
like.
they might sew the clothes around them.
Yeah, my favorite zombie was the one guy. Like there was a one zombie with white hair. Like he was the one that was closest to open. Like he breaks
That
the
saw
window.
the
open.
fire.
I'm not sure. It was just one of them that was on the porch, and he's like knocking on the window, and he just looks like different from everybody else. Him and the fat guy zombie. Those are the two zombies I liked from the movie.
Okay.
But other than that, I liked it. What rating would you give this film?
I gotta give it a 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Oh my god, finally killing this horrible, horrible man
Harry?
after dealing with him for a whole movie.
I will give this movie a 7. No, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. A 9 out of 10. Letting the black guy live. And then telling the audience, fuck him, he's dead in this version too. With that, Danny, what's the final word?
Bazooka!
The horror deconstruction.